A very good afternoon to one and all. We have a novel project. In fact, it was a sponsored research project, come a technology demonstration project funded by Department of Science and Technology. It's about developing a decision support system for cyclone disaster management for Nellore district using ALTM technology and GIS. Of course, the background of selecting Nellore for this project was, like as we know, the eastern coast of our country is bashed by frequent crossings of cyclones, and compared to the western coast, and of course the ratio is around 4:1. And this table gives some of the severe cyclones which have crossed, say, from past 2-3 decades. These are the overall objectives of the project, that is to demonstrate the ALTM technology and then to generate a high-resolution digital elevation model and then use that for storm surge inundation modeling, and then to develop a decision support system for cyclone disaster management. So these are the key objectives. And of course, the current elevation data what we have, of course, with regard to Survey of India, we have 20 meters and 10 meter contour intervals, and maybe locally some high resolution data could be available, but none is matching the needs of inundation modeling, be it riverine flood inundation or storm surge inundation. You always need a dense and highly accurate elevation data to model this. And of course, why ALTM? And of course, though this technology is being talked about quite recently in our country, it's almost 1 or 2 decades old, if you look at Europe and other Western countries. The distinct advantages are they're highlighted here in terms of higher accuracy. You talk about 10 to 15 centimeters at 1 sigma level, and horizontal accuracy is around 30 to 50 centimeters. And of course, these are relative figures which depends on flying height and platforms. And then you have faster acquisition and processing. That is the major advantage. The gestation time is quite less. And of course, DM generation is quite fast. And of course, it has weather and light independence. And of course, when you do want to have a digital camera on board to generate orthophotos, probably light dependence is needed. But otherwise, if you need to generate only elevation data, probably during nighttime capture also is possible. And of course, you have very high data density. That is, the sensors today available are capable of generating much more pulses, but the detail given here itself is quite huge. For example, the scanners, airborne laser scanners, they can generate about 100,000 pulses per second. So that means you're going to get a very dense points on the ground for which you know the latitude, longitude, and height. Look at this, just a slide to give an idea about how does it help in getting this high resolution DEM. And of course, the platform could be either a fixed wing aircraft or an helicopter. Of course, it depends on like what kind of project requirement is that. Probably if it is a corridor application, helicopter is best suited. If the area is quite wide and huge, then probably a lightweight fixed wing aircraft is more often selected. The main advantage of this technology is you not only get the heights of points on the ground, but you also get heights of points on the objects, be it a bird which is flying in between the sensor and the ground at the time of flying, or the vehicle moving on the road, or it could be a building, treetop. You get all kind of objects for which you know the elevation, in addition to getting elevation about the ground. So you have, when you send one laser pulse from your sensor, the scanner, laser scanner, you not only get one return from it, probably more than one return, depending on at how many places it has interacted before reaching the ground. Deliverable wise, you get a digital surface model that is about the elevation of all the objects in addition to the points on the ground. Then we filter out all the objects and get the bare earth digital elevation model. And of course, if you have a digital camera on board, using this digital elevation model, ortho images can be generated, and you can generate profiles of your data. And of course, once the data acquisition has been done, the heights that you get, they are not above mean sea level. They are not orthometric heights. I'm sorry. The ALTM data gives only GPS-based ellipsoidal heights. So we need a transformation using ground control points. Using them, we need to convert these ellipsoidal heights into orthometric heights. Then it's quite useful for a variety of applications. As far as this project is concerned, the entire Nellore district coast is a study area. And this ALTM data has been acquired for about 1 kilometer corridor from the coastline. And of course, wherever there are river inlets or creeks, little further inside, the data has been acquired. And of course, one of the important aspects of this study, when you talk about security, is like more along our country's coast, there are a lot of settlements and habitations which has quite huge population, and these populations are highly vulnerable to the cyclonic attacks. And when it comes to ALTM data acquisition, we do not have a company which consists of all these aspects of ALTM data acquisition. For example, you need 3 partners: a partner who will provide you the sensor, a partner who is providing you the platform, and another partner who is capable of handling the data. And of course, we have NRSE, the government agency at Hyderabad, where they do all these components. But in the private sector, normally a consortium is made between different companies who group together, and then the data could be acquired. This is the chopper that was used for this project to acquire the data, and these are some of the photographs. This is the sensor mount with the helicopter. These are the closer look of the sensors used. And this is the display unit that is available for the person who is navigating the aircraft, whether he's flying along the flight line or so as to make necessary corrections. And you also have a display unit for the person who is controlling the equipment so that he or she can ensure that whether the data has been acquired properly. And these are the specifications of the airborne laser scanner used. It was Lightmapper 5600. And of course, as I've already said, depending on the flying height, the pulse repetition frequency and the scanning frequency, they vary. And one also has to be little careful about the power of the lasers that are being used, because these are class 4 lasers that are used for these applications. And you have a concern about eye safety. And the power of lasers that has to be used depends on the flying height above the ground. And this is the digital camera on board that was carried, which was a 39 megapixel medium format camera. These are the salient features of the data acquisition with regard to this project as well as the other 2 projects for which the data acquisition was combined with this. This slide gives you details regarding the flight lines, sorties, point densities, the number of images, the flying height above ground level, the GSD, and so on. These are some of the snapshots of the DSM and the digital image. The present status is that the data has been processed and it has been submitted for security vetting. And once the data has been cleared, probably the hydrodynamic modeling of storm surge inundation could be carried out, and the DSS is being developed now. And these are some of the thematic maps that have been developed. This is the overall methodology of this project, where initially before this data was acquired, some of the thematic maps are generated. That's why we have this IR1C pan merge data. But right now we have the digital image, we have the digital elevation model, we have the DSM, and inundation modeling and DSS is being carried out now. These are some of the field photographs of the cyclone shelters which have been collected from the field. The attribute data with regard to these cyclone shelters in terms of capacity and infrastructure facilities available, and the population of the coastal habitations, and the road infrastructure that is available, which are quite useful information for evacuation planning. All these have been documented and added in the database. And this is a graphical user interface that has been developed both in English and in the local language. So depending on the facilities that are to be provided, you have the security protocols, and you have different modules within this. For example, overall it can be classified into 3 modules. For example, the administrative module, evacuation module, and the planning module. And here in the administrative module, it provides details like the different administrative heads or contact numbers, the socioeconomic data of different villages. All these things could be accessed. And these are the slides which just explains this, for example, to whom to be contacted, and so on. And of course, this is with regard to the ambulances, boat facilities that are available within with the district administration. And of course, this is with regard to the land use details. Once we have the storm surge inundation modeling completed, we can overlay that with the land use data so that the inundated area could be calculated, the damages could be assessed, the habitations which are inundated could be identified, the number of people who need to be evacuated could be planned, and so on. And these are some of the functionalities provided within the DSS. For example, based on the proximity, if someone wants to know, like from a given location in terms of habitations, say within a 5-kilometer service area, how many cyclone shelters are there? So such kind of analysis could be carried out. And when you are evacuating the people, what is the route to be followed? And here, the details with regard to the road, whether it's a mud road or a pucca road, whether it has been inundated, whether it's possible to evacuate through that road, all these constraints have been incorporated in the DSS. And these are the other functionalities which are being developed. And of course, finally, the dissemination of this has to take place. And of course, role of ICT is quite obvious in this phase, where you have short-term, medium-term, and long-term communication objectives. So thank you.